Hello and welcome to the Blood Reds Morning Bulletin. I'm joined by my fellow Liverpool.com writer Andrew Beasley, and today we're going to discuss last night's events and another victory for Liverpool in the Europa League against Union SG. Andrew, first of all, what were your thoughts of the game? What do you think went well for Liverpool, and what do you think didn't go quite as well?
I think it all went pretty well. I think it went pretty much as most people would have expected, that have looked at that game going in and thought, well, Liverpool probably win sort of 2 or 3-0 maybe, and that's pretty much what happened. Clearly, it was a big exercise in squad management, with two of the starting forwards coming off on half time, other guys getting 45 minutes and stuff like that. I mean, you don't want to play it down, but ultimately it's just sort of a commitment Liverpool had to negotiate. Had they not won the game, it wouldn't have been the end of the world necessarily, but they played pretty well, created quite a few good chances, probably should have scored more than they did, or at the very least scored the second goal before injury time when Jota scored. Obviously, Union had a couple of decent set-piece chances and stuff like that, but they didn't offer too much going forward. So I think you have to say, pretty routine, completely forgettable. I don't think anyone's going to be looking back on this too fondly in years ahead. Ryan Gravenberch might, of course, but I think for most people, this will just be soon forgotten, and obviously bigger games ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the rotation. Obviously, compared to last season, Liverpool, this could have been a fixture Liverpool really struggled in, but now with the amount of depth available to Jurgen Klopp, he was easily able to pretty much take off 3 of his sort of key players, shall we say. I mean, Wataru Endo, obviously there's debates about what his role is in the squad, but Darwin Núñez and Mohamed Salah certainly are expected to start against Brighton. And yeah, he subbed those 3 players off, and it didn't seem like Liverpool changed at all in terms of quality. The quality didn't drop. Liverpool was still pretty much the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a good, depth to the squad. Not everyone's a superstar, but that's fine. They're all at a good level, and they can be moved in and out of the team, and it doesn't seem to affect them too much, which is really important. I mean, obviously, we were all crying out kind of all summer for Liverpool to sign a new centre back, and Klopp can just point to Jarell Quansah and just say, well, look, we wouldn't want him to be playing every single game, obviously, but he could come into a game like that and play perfectly well. Not spectacular, but pretty decent performance. Nobody really misses, Van Dijk in a game like that. And, maybe Liverpool don't need to buy another centre-back, or at least it's not quite as urgent as we all thought, because Quansah has shown that he can fill in and play these games and stuff like that. So, obviously you have to put last night in context. It's not the strongest opposition, but I was looking earlier at Opta's team rankings, and I mean, they have Union as basically between Wolves and Nottingham Forest. So I mean, that's a decent Premier League, or lower Premier League, but Premier League sort of standard of opposition, and Liverpool have been able to rotate their team and beat them without too much fuss. I mean, that can only be a good thing, really.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but they made it quite far into the knockout stages of the Europa League last season. Obviously, it's a much changed squad now with Union SG, but obviously last season they had Victor Boniface, who's doing really well at Bayer Leverkusen, and Simon Ndingra, who's at Brighton. But it is an impressive squad nonetheless. And I think it's interesting that you mentioned Quansah, because for me, it was between him and Ryan Gravenberch for man of the match. And I thought with Quansah, I've been really impressed with the way he's stepped up every single time he's been asked so far for Liverpool. I mean, in pre-season, he was impressive, but then you wouldn't normally, I didn't expect certainly that he would feature as much as he has done so early on in the season. He's come on against Newcastle when Liverpool were 10 men down, did pretty well. I mean, obviously it was just a few minutes, but he did what he had to do. On top of that, he got his first Premier League start, again, very solid. Then in his second start, he got an assist against Leicester. And now in his first European start, I mean, he had a strong case for being one of the best players on the pitch and getting that man of the match award. I think obviously the best young players are sort of defined by their ability to step up to every challenge that comes at them. And it seems like Quansah has certainly been able to do that so far, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. He's looked very solid, as you say. I mean, the Newcastle one, I mean, talk about a debut coming on in that game, nobody would have expected how that game was going to end. But I mean, whether it had ended that way or not, he still did his job really well. You look at the Leicester game, again, he played really well. I mean, his sort of, all right, championship opposition perhaps, but that sort of his work for the assist and things like that. I mean, he's not terrible on the ball, clearly, and stuff like that. I mean, that's not the primary role, but just having him there, I mean, he just looks like he fits the system, which is a big thing, because obviously Nat Phillips was something of a cult hero, and he rarely let the side down and stuff like that. But he just wasn't really right for Liverpool's system when he had to come in and stuff like that. And now you look at Quansah and you think, yeah, okay, this guy does fit in. He sort of suits the way they play more, and that counts for a lot. But yeah, very encouraging. I mean, hopefully he plays in the next round of the League Cup and some more Europa League games. It'd be nice to think Liverpool don't really need to use him in the league, like in these sort of desperate moments, like at Newcastle or whatever. But if he could keep playing all the cup games and Europa League games this side of Christmas and sort of see how it goes from there. But yeah, I mean, I think you can only be impressed with how he's done. He's just sort of slotted in like he's a bit a natural, and it just all bodes really well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you mentioned the ball playing skills, because I think it's kind of his second game now in a row where he's recorded the most passes in the game for Liverpool. I think it was 99 yesterday, just one short of 100. But he has these moments where I think he's really good at creating chances. I think in that game last night, obviously he had that pass that kind of deflected of Ryan Gravenberch, and Mohamed Salah probably should have done better. But it's those kind of moments, I think, that make him suitable for Liverpool's system. It's what Jurgen Klopp wants from his defenders, and against opposition, especially against opposition like Union SG, who did pretty much sat back and played with 3 at the back and almost 5 at the back, should we say, and sort of gave Liverpool the ball. I think having someone like Quansah who can make smart passes and create chances as well is important.
Well, we've seen it for so long now. I mean, obviously Liverpool face a lot of teams who sort of park the bus, to use the phrase. I mean, perhaps not all as much as Union did last night, but we've become accustomed to seeing Van Dijk sort of pinging out the long diagonal passes to Salah and stuff like that. Matip with his kind of mazy runs. I thought Konate played a couple of great passes yesterday as well. So it is important. Again, you see, that's another thing that separates Quansah from the likes of Nat Phillips. Nat Phillips wasn't going to be doing that sort of thing. So as a fifth choice centre-back for a team how Liverpool like to play, so much better suited. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it is important, these games where the team sits deep, you want to push everyone forward. So the better on the ball your centre-backs are, it's all another sort of weapon in the arsenal, and it makes it a little bit easier to break them down, because obviously they're letting the centre-backs have the ball. So that, if they can do something with it, then that's great. And he looks capable of doing that, as you say.
And obviously, we've got to give a mention to Ryan Gravenberch. Got his first Liverpool goal. It's now 2 assists and a goal in his first 3 Liverpool starts. I think he's the first player to do that since Milan Baros in 2002. I've been surprised by how good he's been. I kind of expected him to become this good eventually, but I'm really surprised by how well he started already this season. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, similar. I mean, we always have this thing, I think, with Liverpool. They sign a new player and they don't necessarily put them into the team straight away. Klopp doesn't necessarily do that. I mean, I think obviously the huge overturn in midfielders this summer has probably forced his hand in that sense. But yeah, obviously after he had Gravenberch fairly quiet season last season, didn't really get too much game time. For him to come in and play this well, again, is very, very encouraging. I mean, I noticed like he, attempts lots of dribbles and stuff like that. And they didn't all come off, but it's just that thing of like Liverpool haven't had midfielders who do that. Obviously, you don't need me to tell you, Szoboszlai does plenty of that as well. So if they've got these guys doing that, again, it's another weapon against these low block teams. It's not just all about, the passing is great, but if they could dribble past them as well, Gravenberch seems to have that in his locker. So yeah, I mean, I've been impressed. I mean, I think it's good how these sort of midfields are developing. I mean, I saw, was it David Comerford? Somebody tweeted yesterday, like the midfield that started yesterday has started the 3 cup games. So it's sort of like they're developing a first choice league midfield, if you like, and a first choice cup midfield. And that's just a really sensible strategy, because you've seen in the past, you for a cup game, and then it's a real struggle. They haven't really played together before. They don't know what they're doing. So if you've got Endo and Elliott and Gravenberch playing these cup games, working together, that means they'll all perform better. Liverpool will perform better. So there is a sound logic in sort of having a league midfield and a cup midfield.
Obviously, the league midfield is going to be sort of disrupted this weekend by the suspension of Curtis Jones. Would you start Gravenberch in his place, or is there a case for Wataru Endo, who was obviously subbed at halftime, probably more defensively minded, and it could him coming into the side could potentially free up Alexis McAllister, and the Argentine could probably play in his more preferred position. What do you think Klopp will go with?
Yeah, I'm really not sure. I mean, I would certainly like to see the Gravenberch taking it, because I think that's just potentially a really exciting midfield. At the same time, Brighton away is a very tough match. Liverpool don't need reminding of that. I mean, obviously the game last season there in the league was one of their worst performances, I think, and then slightly better in the FA Cup game, but again they ended up losing the game. So they've had some bad experiences there, and relatively recently. Both games were this calendar year. I feel like Klopp probably trusts Gravenberch a bit more than Endo. It sort of feels like that, but I think it would still be a big call to put him in, because did Gravenberch play the whole game last night, or certainly the majority of it, when other players were sort of coming in and out and things like that?
He was subbed off for Dominic Szoboszlai, I think,
Yes.
about 10 minutes to go.
Yeah. So that may point towards him not starting. But it's a good problem to have. I mean, obviously last year the midfield was a big issue for Liverpool, and now they seem to have a lot of players in form. But I think it could be a game for Endo with McAllister possibly further forward. Just as I say, with Gravenberch having played pretty much the full game last night. But I'd certainly like to see it. I think the Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai midfield would certainly be exciting. I mean, possibly a little too open, but certainly would be exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll end there on a positive note. I'm definitely excited about this Liverpool midfield, which is a nice change after the last few years we had with those Liverpool midfielders and wanting midfielders in. It's definitely positive. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks everyone for leaving comments. And as always, do check out the rest of the Liverpool.com content going out today on our website, and all the Blood Red content as well.